Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's proclamation news and gatherance with the prodigious, the prominent professor at PNG. Thank you all ever so much for coming through. It's the last day of the month, Friday the 30th, and we are back with a brand new edition. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. The sound, doesn't it? It's absolutely phenomenal. Got brand new apparatus with new aspirations in life. Thank you all for coming through. Proclamation News and Gathered at its finest hour. We're going to have a great show. We are proudly sponsored by PSS Alarms. Very etiquette and pragmatic work carried out. All areas covered, including central station monitoring provided. All work done according to insurance requirements. There's a friend of mine's company. He's carried out works in Harry Kane's stepmother's house in Hertfordshire, Potter's Bar. He's carried out works, etiquette works in Essex, such as Casbah Restaurant and many more big businesses. Please call Tariq Khan. His contact details are 07908 216 142. Installation and maintenance of intruder alarms and fire alarms, CCTV. All work guaranteed and certified to SSAIB standards. 24-hour call-out services. Can provide CCTV for pubs, clubs, restaurants, or new business setup. Secure your business. Mention Professor Johnson for extra discount. Secure your home. Secure your business. Your safety and priorities within your business are paramount. So think safety, think first. Secure your equity. It's important, isn't it? You secure your equity. We've also got a new sponsor in board. These new apparatus that we're using. We had a sponsor tell me, help me on board. Stress relief, helping you with stress relief. Let me just find the updates for you to give you the the search engine to find. Just bear with me 2 minutes, please. My phone making it ever so much of a racket. I'll turn it down a sec. Hang on. It's what it is. I'm on Star now. I don't know if any of you guys like singing. That's a great application to use. If you're suffering mental health, you need something to do. Keep your mind busy. It's a great app to do to let your endorphins go. Singing helps. Absolutely. Singing and artwork has been it's been a great part of my life. Tell me, release a lot of stress. I'm just trying to still find this update. I can't find it for love nor money. I'm also Prox Art. If you want to look on Facebook, some new artwork, impressionist art, please feel free to find me on Facebook under Prox Art. Have a look through what we have in store. Some of our art. I've got a new webpage as well, so you can always inbox Prox Art on Facebook. I'll send you my new webpage. You can have a look through. Just bear with me. Going for. Also, we've got May the 6th election. Don't forget May the 6th election just coming up. Vote Conservative. Absolutely. Neoliberalism government. Vote Conservative. We've got the mayor and the commissioner, crime commissioners up for election. Cressy Deer is one of the main guys up for election. I suppose the Mayor of London is up for grabs as well. We've got Nims Obungi. He's standing for election. We have Sadiq Khan, who's the Mayor of London at the moment. I don't know your guys. What are your thoughts on Mayor of London? What is your thoughts of the Mayor of London? Who would you like to be Mayor of London? Right, we're going to have to. I don't think I can find my way to find, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to move on. No biggie. It's no biggie. We've been talking about xenophobia, fascism, racist, culturalism. That's what's been going on in the media just recently. especially in sports facilities such as football, rugby, all the big sports facilities. Racist marks in the crowd, racist marks on the pitch. Anyway, Israel crush. Netanyahu promises inquiry as first victims are buried. Families in Israel have begun burying their loved ones after at least 45 people died in a crush at the crowded Orthodox Jewish festival overnight. Some 150 people was also injured at Lag BaOmer festival near Mount Meron when people became trapped in an overcrowded passageway. Funerals were allowed to take place for victims who were positively identified. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised that an inquiry would ensure such a tragedy did not happen again. Visiting the scene, he said, it's one of the worst peacetime disasters the country had known. You think what's happened to the Jewish people over the years? World War II, absolute massacre by Hitler and his mob, tortured absolute millions of Jews. One survivor who gave his name as David told Ynet News it had felt like a human wave had broken. Our bodies were swept along by themselves. People were thrown up in the air. Others were crushed on the ground. Medics struggled to reach the injured in the ensuing chaos. Those who died are believed to be predominantly men or boys at a crush at a largely gender-segregated event apparently happened in one of the men's sections. Some victims are believed to be foreign nationals. Israeli Airlines El Al has offered to assist family members of victims living abroad who wish to attend their loved ones' funerals in Israel. Sunday has been declared a national day of mourning. What do we know about the victims? Bodies of the dead were taken to the Greenberg Institute of Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv, which had identified 32 before the process was halted for 24 hours on Friday evening for observance of the Sabbath. One of the first funerals to be reported was that of Rabbi Elazar Goldberg, who was in the late 30s. Mourners in Jerusalem prayed. Some wept as a body covered in white sheet was moved into the back of a vehicle ahead of the burial. Reuters news agency reports. Two of the youngest victims were brothers, Moshe Natan Englander, 14, and Yahushi Englander, 9, from Jerusalem. At least two of the dead are US citizens from New York. Congressman Mondaire Jones confirmed in a tweet. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin lit 45 candles on Friday afternoon to commemorate the dead. The Jerusalem Post reports. This is a time to hug the families and to help find their loved ones to cry together, he said. This is hard and painful day. This tragedy is heartbreaking. How did the disaster happen? The site includes several large gathering grounds with open air stands and stages connected by the network of paths. It was along one of those paths where witnesses said the crush of people began at around 1 a.m. local time, 22 GMT on Thursday. Some witnesses said the incident had begun when police closed the passageway said to be 3 meters 10 foot wide. Police sources told Haaretz newspaper some people had slipped on the steps, causing dozens more to fall over. This was not officially confirmed. An injured man lying on a hospital bed said a line of people in the front of the surging crowd had simply collapsed. A pyramid of one on top of another was formed. The unnamed man was quoted as saying by Reuters news agency, people were piling up one on top of the other. I was in the second row. The people were in the first row. saw people die in front of my eyes. Dov Mazil, director of the operation for volunteer-based emergency services organised United Hazala, told the BBC he had never witnessed such a scene of his 30-year career. It felt like a surreal scene where we had over 20 people undergoing CPR by our teams with limited ability to evacuate from the scene, simply because the place was too overwhelmed with people, he said. Witnesses say a police barricade prevented people from leaving crowded area. Israel's state watchdog, the State Comptroller's Office, issued warnings in 2008 and 2011 of the risk of disaster. Special danger was posed by access roads and paths which are narrow and not appropriate to accommodate the hundreds of thousands of people who visit the site. The office was quoted as saying by the New York Times, what was different this year was that the bonfire areas were partitioned off as a COVID-19 precaution, and this may have created unexpected choke points for the foot traffic, Reuters reports. Quoting Israeli media, thousands of police officers closed down the event after the crush before helping evacuate attendees. How did the police respond? Investigators will look into whether there was any police misconduct, the Justice Ministry said. Mr. Netanyahu promised a serious investigation that would ensure this kind of disaster never happens again. Regional Police Chief Shimon Labby told reporters at the scene he took upon himself the overall responsibility for good and for the bad, and was ready for every inspection. He later told AFP news agency his officers had done all they could on a tragic night. Other police officials told the media people had slipped in a walkway and the crush had been out of their control. An unnamed police source told the Haaretz the incident could not have been prevented and the police were not to blame. US President Joe Biden called the Prime Minister Netanyahu to offer his condolences. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said his thoughts are with the Israeli people and those who have lost loved ones and in this tragedy, and German Chancellor Angela and offered her heartfelt sympathies. We're looking at the correspondent by Tom Bateman. He's a Middle East correspondent. At a disaster at the site, men come in their dozens, some pray, others stand in groups, exchange short words and point to where the tragedy unfolded. I walked down the ramp from the top of the slope where the crowd had swelled. It was made of metal, with no steps, and eyewitnesses say it was wet and slippery. The narrow passageway turns hard to the right, and there are steep steps. One man points down to the police. They put the barriers there, he says, anger rising in his voice. People say they could not get out as a crowd at the top, unaware, carried on coming. Jewish pilgrims travelled here in the hundreds of thousands for blessings at the shrine of the rabbi from the antiquity. Instead, this year they met the panic and a deadly crush. And now this holy site witnesses are unplanned. Mass evacuation festival was cancelled and people are being abused out in their tens of thousands. Absolute tragic in Israel. So when you think you're having a bad day, you think you're living a life of purgatory, there's always someone around the corner having a worse day than what you are. So there's a bit of compassion for you, but it's not as bad as some of them in Israel. So when they say they're having their heart and their condolences go out to their families, that's because they're showing their compassion and their support. Such a shame, mate. Such a shame. Absolute shame. So from Proclamation News and Gatherings and all the listeners being observers and stand preserved, we give our compassion and our thoughts and our total respect to the Israeli families of the loved and lost ones. MP reports Boris Johnson to stand as watchdog over flat costs. Labour Margaret Hodge has reported Boris Johnson to the MP stand as watchdog over how renovations to his flat were initially paid for. Dame Margaret says it was unacceptable that the PM refuses to publicly declare exactly where the upfront costs for his redecoration came from. The PM says he paid for it himself, but a number of inquiries are underway into whether the costs were initially covered by donations. The Electoral Commission, the watchdog overseeing political finances, is investigating Conservative Party compliance with laws on political donations, having said there are reasonable grounds to suspect that an offence or offences may have occurred. Cabinet Secretary Simon Case and the Prime Minister's newly appointed advisor on ministers' interests, Lord Jett, are also looking into the issue. Labour Sir Keir Starmer said, "We just need to get to the bottom of this." The party leader said it was getting ridiculous that Mr Johnson would not say who had initially paid for the redecoration, adding, "The Prime Minister knows the answer to that question, but won't answer it." Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards, Catherine Stone, can put her evidence to the Standards Committee and recommend action. A meeting of the House of Commons can also consider the committee's findings and vote to suspend an MP for any amount of time between 5 days and 12 months. In a letter to Commissioner Dame Margaret, the former chairwoman of the Public Accounts Select Committee said it would appear that the Prime Minister had repeatedly broken the general principles of the Code of Conduct. She said Mr Johnson was still not open and accountable with the media of Parliament. In a tweet, she said the Prime Minister's conduct was needless distraction from the challenges we all face. Ms Stone has said she cannot confirm that MPs are under investigation while the UK is an election period. In a statement to the media posted on her website, the Commissioner said she had recently given her the power to publish the names of the MPs who in the office is looking into, but she said she would release information on active investigation after 6 of May's local elections. On Thursday, the Prime Minister said the whole affair was a farrago of nonsense and added, "I don't think there's anything to see here." Wouldn't it be funny if he didn't actually have any allegations against him? It'd be funny, wouldn't it, if he actually paid for it out of his own pocket, but who knows? Who knows? I'm not saying what I know or what I don't know because I don't know. And I don't want to point fingers in the wrong direction because I'm a Conservative. You won't see me put the man down in the number 10. There you go. Simple as that. But, you know, critics are critics. We don't know until we see qualitative evidence. So that's all I can say there. I don't know what your thoughts are with that story. But we all are equal to our own opinions. Absolutely. That's what makes politics. Don't want that noise.
Fire safety bill has now gone through with no, and I repeat, no financial protection for leaseholders. So the question we have to ask now is what can be done next? Is there anything that can protect these poor leaseholders that are in this situation that frankly they should not be in? And the answer to the question must be yes. And I've been thinking, well, what could the options be? And the way I see it, there's potentially 2 options left. One of them is we have the Queen's speech coming up. And there could be a way where government could push a new bill to go into the Queen's speech so that we have a new opportunity to get this matter resolved. Or, of course, government could simply put up a fund. And this fund could be there to pay for the works that are needed to make these high-rise buildings safe so that the innocent parties, and of course the innocent parties here are the leaseholders, do not have to put their hands in their pockets. Sharon from North London has text into the show on this subject. She says, government bailed out the banks. Why can they not do the same here? Sharon, that's a great statement, great comment, and I agree. Why are they not doing it here? I think they should be doing it here. What do you think? I mean, let me know your thoughts about this. Because this subject isn't going away anytime soon. Everyone here at LBC is going to keep on pushing it. I'm going to keep on pushing it because I do feel passionate about it, as I know everyone else here does as well. We can't leave these poor leaseholders in this situation. Something has to change. They must be protected. And my message to government, this is not going anywhere soon. I hope myself and many other people are going to keep on pushing it until the day that you do the right thing and get these leaseholders protected financially. And I do hope that that's going to happen very, very soon, because some of the messages I've been receiving this week are just heartbreaking. People are suffering greatly with this situation, with mental health issues, with financial issues. This has got to stop. This is not the country that we all live in or should live in. We should be helping out. I will be coming back to this, hopefully, on many of my shows, because I'll keep coming back to it until we have the resolution. And whilst it's still relevant, and it's highly relevant right now, it will keep getting my time and the time on this show, and I'm sure on my colleagues' shows here at LBC as well. Now, later in the show, I'll be providing an important update in relation to teletext holidays. This is a subject I've spoken about many times on this show, and there are also people here that are waiting for refunds. There has been some news. It's not good news, I'm afraid, and I'll be telling you all about that later in the show. But first, let's get to your calls, and Andrew is in Tunbridge Wells. Evening, Andrew.
Good evening. Thanks for taking my call. I purchased a car 4 weeks ago when we were still technically in lockdown. I found it on the internet. It was a main high street dealer. I paid for the car prior to collecting, and I signed the paperwork prior to collecting. I went to collect, but after a couple of days there were extra issues with the car that I wasn't happy with. Am I allowed to get a full refund on the basis that I'm not happy with the car and that I didn't collect it and pay for it in normal circumstances?
So when you say not in normal circumstances, what you mean is you didn't go into the showroom, you didn't have a look at the car, you're an online purchaser, you purchased at a distance. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, you weren't allowed to go into the showroom.
No, of course.
It's a click and collect service.
Yeah. So what the click and collect service means, and as you say, that's all you can do at the moment, it means that the law that applies is called the Consumer Contract Regulations. And basically they say that if you buy goods in that way, you can return them within 14 days of delivery. Now, of course, the only thing that would change that is if you had driven this car extensively, which it doesn't sound like you have, but if you had have done that, that would cause you an issue. But it appears to me that you do have the right to return the car. There may be another reason why you've got the right, because you say there's problems with the car. What are the problems?
Well, they're not. I'm not happy with the way the car's performing. I feel like there's an issue. They're taking the car in, there's nothing wrong with the car. When I did my research initially, particularly the online retailers potentially don't have to have a justifiable reason to return the car. It's had 2 weeks, and they sort of delayed and fudged and sort of stalled me. And I believe they've been doing that so that over a longer period of time, it's more difficult for me to justify giving the car back. But essentially, I complained picked the car up on Friday and complained on the Monday and said I wanted to change the car, and they just said that's possible. It's your car. It's your problem.
Well, the car dealerships do like to say that. They do like to come out with all sorts of lines. We hear it every week on the show, and it doesn't mean they're right. Of course, they don't write the law. The law is very clear, as I said. You've bought it effectively at distance online. You've not gone into the showroom because you can't, as you say, and you do have those 2 weeks. What matters is when you registered your complaint, when you went back and said, actually, I don't want this car, I want to give it back. You've done that clearly within the 14-day period. I hear this all the time with traders trying to delay this, thinking that if you don't return it within 14 days, you're out of luck, you're out of time. That's not the case. So, Andrew, my firm view here is that you are entitled to return it, and that's what you should do. Go back, give them the keys, and ask for your money back. I should just ask, how do you pay?
I paid by bank transfer.
Okay. I can tell by the way you're saying that you listen to this show, don't you?
I do.
Because I'm going to tell you off, aren't I? There's two things I don't like. Is when people tell me they paid by bank transfer or cash and they bought goods from China. You didn't buy this car from China, did you?
No, but I should say that the brand, there's such a premium brand. If I mentioned the name, you would not expect them to behave in the way they have, and that's the bit that's maybe more angry than anything, actually. I went to a premium dealership, a premium brand, and had really shoddy service, and that's
well, let's
one thing that I'm cross about, actually.
Let's hope they've got a premium lawyer that knows the law and can tell them that actually Andrew's entitled to his money back, because you are entitled to your money back, and that's what you need to go and do. Say, I'll have my money back, please. You're entitled to it, Andrew. If they say no, please come back next week and let me know. I'll tell you what to do next. But I actually don't think they will. I think when you tell them you know your rights, I think you'll be fine. Judy is in Harringay. Evening, Judy.
Good evening. Thank you for your colleagues putting me through to speak to you. My question is, I received a delivery. I ordered an online delivery from a big supermarket.
Okay.
Then I found the fruits and the salmon fish. Some of them are moldy and bad, not expired. Not expired yet. So,
hold on a minute, Judy. You just said they're mouldy, so they have expired. Whether the date says it or not, they're mouldy. So I'm guessing you're going to ask me, can I get my money back? Are you?
Yes, because I spoke to them after 3 days because I was busy before. So after 3 days, I found a chance to call customer service. They said, "Oh, no, we cannot refund you after 48 hours. Because after 48 hours, we cannot refund you." Do you think I can ask my credit card company to charge it back?
Well, I guess, I was going to ask you how'd you pay, and I guess you paid by credit card. How much was the shopping, Judy?
The shopping is total less 100, maybe 93 pounds, but the bad items only 12 or 13 pounds.
Okay. The reason I ask you that is that you can claim if your shopping is more than £100 and 1 penny. But to be honest, you shouldn't need to go to your card company. And this whole 48-hour thing is nonsense. It's not true. And if you buy foods from a supermarket that are mouldy, that is obviously terrible. And I do not know any supermarket that would not give you an immediate refund. They certainly would not want you to complain about this. So I think you need to go back, take some photos if you still have this food, and say, look, this is moldy, this is not on, you need to give me a refund. It's the easiest refund in the book, to be honest, because when food is moldy, it's dangerous. And they should be embarrassed about that.
Because I called them 48 hours, we cannot refund you. I didn't take a picture. This is my fault. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I would certainly still go back. The 48-hour thing, by the way, is wrong. The law doesn't say anywhere that you must go back in 48 hours. That's just not true. I would go back to them again and say, this was moldy. Do you want me to take this further? Do you want me to go and tell people on social media about this? Not something I normally tell people to do, but sometimes it's the only thing you can do. And the answer is they won't want you to do that, and they'll send you a replacement. There is no doubt about that in my mind, Judy. I think that's what you need to do. Terrible situation. I think you'll find they will jump when someone in a senior position finds out to basically rectify the issue for you. More of your calls coming up next here on the LBC Consumer Hour. I'm Dean Dunham, and the time is 9:15.
LBC. We are now in level 3. Up to 6 people from 6 households can meet outdoors. More places are opening up again. Things like shops, cafes, bars and restaurants, holiday accommodation and visitor attractions. And travel within the UK is now allowed. Check the rules before travelling and avoid areas with restrictions. Sticking to the guidance helps prevent the spread of new strains, so we can keep moving forward and get back together again. We've come too far. We're not giving in.
So who can?
So I can.
Pharmaceuticals. Yeah, love me more.
Deal with anxiety.
Shampoo down. It's my toddler. Clear my head. Be more confident.
So I can.
Join Fiji Colchester. Get your first month half price for only £7 and no joining fee. Participating gyms, T&Cs apply.
So I can.
Julius Caesar here. I have trust issues, probably because my friends betrayed me to death. So when I need a tradesperson, I don't trust them, I trust Checkatrade. They check all their tradespeople and check the reviews are real, so I know they'll get the job done right without the treachery. Recommendations you can rely on.
I am Avona. I am 7 years old. I have brittle bones, but it don't stop me from doing what I can. I like to play with my brother. I enjoy it when I sometimes play with my friends. Most of all, I love dinner with my mum.
The little things can mean so much. That's why McCain Helping Family Fund supports 150,000 families with disabled or seriously ill children, like Eleanor's, so they can enjoy the little moments that matter. McCain and Family Fund, we are family. How fast could you boost your credit score with new Experian Boost? Whoa! Should already. For the first time ever, you could boost your credit score instantly for free with new Experian Boost. Only at Experian.co.uk. Experian account linked to your current account is required. Score increase subject to status. Remember the excitement of a spontaneous weekend break? Or that walk along the coast when walking wasn't the only thing we could do? What better way to get back out there than in a new Audi? Because when you finance one now at 5.2% APR representative, you get 3 months on us. Search Audi offers or visit your local Audi centre. There's actually never been a better time. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik. With Solutions PCP, ordered by 30th of April and delivered by 30th of June 2021. 3 months on us discount is provided by reducing our standard interest rate. Minimum 46-month agreements only. Excludes RS, R8, e-tron GT and Q4 e-tron models. T's and C's apply. Indemnities may be required. Audi Financial Services, visit audi.co.uk.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, the Consumer Hour, with Dean.
Seems like Julie's not alone with the mouldy food. Lots of other people have been messaging in saying that they too have received.
Sorry about that, gents. I was just a little bit busy just there. Thank you all so much for being patient with me. So a short break. Proclamation news in Gavins with the prodigious Professor Johnson. You call me the indigenous prominent Professor Johnson if you like. Appreciate everyone come through. It means a lot. Just trying to get this mouse going. There we go. Met police sacked for hitting vulnerable teenage girl with a baton 34 times. In Scotland, misconduct hearing was held in private due to wishes of a girl's family. Met police officer has been sacked after hitting a vulnerable teenager 34 times with a baton. The 17-year-old girl who was escorted leave from a mental health unit because distressed after becoming separated from the group in May 2019. A misconduct panel heard PC Benjamin Kemp try to handcuff the teenager and then used the CS spray less than a metre away from her face and his baton. Chief Support Worker Richard Tucker said the force used was utterly inappropriate. Family solicitor said it was deeply disturbing case where a black child with learning disabilities was brutalised. But the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, said there was no indication racial discrimination had been a factor. Following the hearing, the girl's family said in a statement, rather than helping her, as he should have done, he violently assaulted her using up to 34 baton strikes and CS spray. The panel heard the girl was seen near the main road in East London and police were called by a concerned member of the public. The girl herself flagged down a passing police car and body-worn video showed her telling officers she was a vulnerable child with mental health problems. She agreed to get into the police car but then got out of it, the panel heard. Officers tried to speak to her but PC Kemp of the Met's North East Command attempted to use handcuffs. Poor communication. When this was unsuccessful, he used a CS spray before taking out his baton seconds later. The hearing followed the IOPC investigation into complaints made by an NHS Trust member and the girl's mother. IOPC Regional Director Sal Nassim described the incident as shocking. He added, immediately resorting to use of force without considering other de-escalation tactics, and particularly where the person involved has mental health issues, is of concern. PC Kemp's immediate reaction when the girls exited the police car was to try and handcuff her. Even though he didn't have her under his control, the poor communication by the officer got incident off to a bad start, and once he started to use the baton, he was unable to change tactics. Sophie Naftalian said the case was a powerful message that more needs to be done by the Met when training officers about how to deal with vulnerable people, she added. There have been too many cases of disproportionate force being used by the police officers upon members of black community. PC Kemp was dismissed from the Met without notice following a misconduct hearing in West London. They do take, formal complaints quite lightly. They're making action, which is good to see. Absolutely phenomenal in the Met Police Office and the courts. That's phenomenal. You hear it quite often, more so than often. It's a police inquiry. They've acted irrationally to the black community once again. That's why Black Lives Matter, and that's why it's happening. Police do make misconduct to people of mixed race skin. They seem to act in a irresponsible mannerism. Not always the case, though. It's not always the case. Julia James, family tributes to killed community police officer. The family of police community support officer found dead in Woodland said she was fiercely loyal and loved with her whole heart. The body of Julia Jane, 53, was found dead in Alcohol Wood, Snowdon, near Dover on Tuesday. She died from significant head injuries, and a murder inquiry is underway, Kent police have said. There are no words to adequately describe the void left in her lives, her family said in a statement. She was so naturally funny with a brilliant sense of humour, they added. This is two Actorius murder inquiries. The last one wasn't Actorius, it was mens rea habilitation. The cause of attempt to, strike a victim is almost the cause of death, a fatal death accident. It could be a fatal death accident hitting a black young lady 34 times with a baton. Could be fatal cause of death with a head injury. A post-mortem examination carried out on Tuesday concluded Miss James died from a blunt force trauma, police have said. The officer, whose body was found in a few hundred yards from her house, had been taking a dog for a walk when she was killed. The pet was found unharmed at the scene. She joined the force as the PCSO in 2018, had more recently been working with victims of domestic abuse while based in Canterbury. Miss James had been working from her home on the day she died and was not in uniform she was found, police have said. Her family said they're trying to understand how we will navigate our lives without her, adding it seems all impossible tasks. She was a fiercely loyal wife, mother, daughter, grandmother, sister and friend who loved her with her whole heart, her family has said. Nothing was too much trouble for the people she cared about, the statement added. Assistant Chief Constable Tom Richards said she has been dedicated PSCO, who was well liked by colleagues and members of the public. He added, "We are all devastated by what had happened." Police said officers would remain in the area until at least of beginning of next week. Officers could be seen walking in lines through the fields near home on Friday. Mr. Richards said residents should remain vigilant until the full circumstances of death are established. Justice for Julia. Police said they could not rule out the possibility Miss James had been attacked by a stranger, but were investigating all possibilities in terms of a motive and suspects. Her family appealed for anyone with information, however small or significant, to contact police. You could be helping us get justice for Julia, they said. This could be an altercation of these other police force acting inappropriately. Like I was just reading, the Met police officer has been sacked for hitting a vulnerable child with mental health issues 34 times with a baton. This could be an alteration of what's happened before. Hello, Lightboy. How you doing, girl? Nice to see you come by. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate you, girl. Hope you're well. I've got about 10 minutes more speaking. I'll be with you. Again, a little chat. We'll hopefully get you on a call. Be nice. Be nice having you on a call. Nice to see you as well. Marcus Rashford, his budget of cookery serves up fish sandwich. Talk about the Israel crush would be nice, like White, to see what your perspective on, how they're going about going to these festivals and people are getting crushed in Israel. Marcus Rashford might be a world-class athlete, but he still can see the value of fish sandwich. The last one achieved a sample recipe is in a project of footballers is launching to help families cook pocket-friendly meals. While with Chief Tom Kevich, the England and Manchester United footballer, a food poverty campaigner, is a group to share the basics of making meals. Mr. Rashford said he wanted to make sure no one goes to bed hungry. No kitchen gadgets, the free recipes and online lessons for his full-time project will be available each week on Instagram and recipe cards in supermarkets, schools and food banks. They're aimed at families on a tight budget, but also who might have limited times and no expense kitchen gadgets or little knowledge of cooking. This is like learning to ride a bike. This is right at the beginning with stabilizers. This is peeling carrots, peeling potatoes, dicing onions, said Mr. Kerridge. The celebrity chef who runs a Michelin-starred restaurant is ready to raise his game with a recipe for the ultimate fish finger sandwich. It's one of the first things I learned to cook at 14-year-old. My mum was at her second job and I could cook tea for my brother, who was 11 years old, said Mr. Kerridge. There will be a recipe for spaghetti bolognese, which Mr. Rashford said was one of the favourite meals. The other contender for the top food experience, the footballer said, what his grandmother's cooking was the best Caribbean food ever. I've just never tasted it again. I've been to Caribbean shops, but it's just not the same, he says. There will be 55 budget recipes with online tutorials, including chicken satay, stir-fried chicken, chicken pie, and broccoli, and cauliflower cheese, Mr. Kerridge, showing that Manchester United player how to cook. It's about healthy eating, but in a non-preachery, unpretentious way. Learn from scratch. A lot of young people are afraid of mistakes, said Mr. Rashford, who is volunteering his own lack of culinary skills to show it's fine to learn something completely from scratch. While the footballing world has been convulsed this week by accusations of greed, Mr. Rashford is still pursuing his campaign against food poverty. It is fair if people go hungry. No, it's not fair. Whether it's a child or an adult, it doesn't change the fact that it's unfair if somebody goes to sleep without eating a meal, he said in a Zoom call. If people are sceptical about whether families are really going hungry, he says, they should go and do some research